2 of Sports Talk Up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pologic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We continue on Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266. If you'd like to chime in on the program, a lot of folks commenting on our Twitter timeline. We'll go over some of that as we move on through this hour of the program. Going to talk some baseball later on. Hear from Mark Kingston after his first series as USC's head coach. It was successful, coming back to win 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 2 over the weekend. And Monty Lee gets the Tigers off to a 3-0 start, all close games, having to come from behind on Friday to really pull one out of the fire, and close wins on Saturday and Sunday. The thing about the Tigers' performance, didn't hit the ball all that well, disappointed with the offense. They did draw 20 walks.
Yes.
Over the weekend series. So they were very patient at the plate.
I will say this. Again, I didn't see as much of Clemson as I did USC. I saw a lot of the game Friday, not as much Saturday, Sunday with Clemson. But in the game I saw Saturday with USC, I love Cody Morris's stuff, man. You have to, I think, be happy and encouraged with the way that he pitched on Saturday and the way that Chapman pitched on Sunday as well. I know that Adam Hill had numbers, and I know we mentioned this on Friday's show. He had numbers that weren't aesthetically good. I think he had good stuff at times. He ran into one bad inning. It was the really fluky inning there where he gave up the home run after the reversed call, and I think that's something that's going to come with time as far as mentally being able to flush that. So I think it's. I would say a disappointment from him, but I think you can expect him to bounce back this week against Charleston.
It's one outing, though. I wouldn't worry about it yet.
No.
One outing is not a trend.
That's what I'm saying. I think you can expect him to bounce back against
and
Charleston.
Also, you got to be encouraged by the bullpen, which I think for the 3 games went unscathed.
Yeah.
As far as the run column
very
is concerned.
encouraging. And also the thing, too, that I think was the biggest part of the weekend, while they didn't have the timely hitting that you expected, they were able to feast after that first day on the VMI pitching. Once they got past the one guy, and again, this is probably going to be the order of the day when it comes to these games before conference play, is that you'll probably have a rough go at it on Friday, because every one of these Friday night starters is somebody who's either been drafted or at least somebody who was a high selection at some point. You're going to struggle on Friday, but then Saturday and Sunday you should be able to feast.
Yep. 800-956-7266. Let's give you the recruiting report for tonight. Of course, on Saturday, USC gained its first commitment for the 2020 class. This is a guy who will be a junior this coming season. 2 more years of high school football. Mikos Todd, 6 feet 200, Villa Rica, Georgia, formerly out of Carrollton, Georgia, made his commitment to USC Saturday while in for an unofficial visit, and he really, really liked it. And he said Will Muschamp and the Gamecock coaches, they've been talking to him for a while, treated him like family. He said that he was really impressed with Marcus Lattimore and the fact that they didn't spend so much time talking football with him, but rather about being the complete person, the complete package of academics and life after football, things of that nature really impressed him. As for football, he says he's a running back, a power running back, good speed, had over 850 yards and 25 touchdowns last season. And they feel like, he's a guy that they can develop. Now, he's got other big-time offers: Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Auburn, North Carolina, and others. Does not plan to sign until February 2020. Of course, he understands things can change. He says he's leaving his recruiting open because it is 2 years. It's a long time. He said, I'm going to leave my recruitment open, but as of right now, I'm committed to South Carolina. He does plan to take a visit to Florida soon, which, USC's already lost one commitment in the 2019 class. Now they picked up one for 2020. That's all well and good. It looks good on paper. It gives you some momentum in the recruiting market. I would love to see coaches, however, and of course, very few do this, and obviously Muschamp is not one of them. Sweeney is. I guess you could call it maybe the Sweeney rule. Not sure how many other coaches do this, but he has publicly stated, and we've seen it in action, where he tells recruits, you commit to us, you're shutting down recruiting. No more visits, no more nothing. If you're committing to us, I'd love to see.
They're in a position to do that, though.
Well, I would love to see other coaches do that. I think it's, what looks better, and what you take a commitment from a 2020 kid that's got a bunch of other major offers. It looks good right now, but does it look worse when he decommits a year from now for whatever reason, if indeed it does happen? Does that hurt you more than gaining a commitment 2 years in advance of being able to sign them in the positive club that you might get right now?
I don't necessarily I think it's hard to expect, with a kid in 2020. This guy just finished his freshman year. It's
he's in his sophomore year. Sophomore year.
So it's
I know it gets confusing. I get confused all the time.
It's hard to expect that, and it's just not an insult to the young man. It's just it's a long time,
especially when you've got Georgia, and you're a Georgia kid, and you've got Alabama, and you've got Tennessee. Look, South Carolina is getting better, and their recruiting allure is getting stronger, but it's not so strong yet that you can take a 2020 commitment from an outside state, and if he's a big-time player, as this guy appears to be, that you have the confidence that he's still going to be there in 2 years.
I kind of like the fact that I think, in my mind, that Muschamp likes the game of recruiting. Okay, we got this kid. Let's see who comes after him. I don't care. They know we're the enemy now. Let's see what negative things they say about us. I think he likes that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would tell a young guy at 2020, look, this is the only experience in your life you will do this. Go and take some visits. See what everybody else. I believe you will come back to us. Mm-hmm. But I would not tell him to make a public commitment to me.
The other part of this too is that, if you're not necessarily getting him, maybe you can get somebody like him closer to the date.
Well, but if you make a commitment to him, he makes a commitment to you, and you say, look, we're not going to take another running back in the class if you commit to us. Not saying that that's the case here. I don't know what the case is, but you could end up passing, like Clemson passed on a bunch of running backs as they were chasing the running back out of North Carolina who eventually signed with Georgia, Zamir White. Yeah, they passed on a bunch of running backs, then had to go back and offer people after they had committed, then decommitted, and came back on the marketplace, and they got a good one in Lynn J. Dixon.
And Travis Etienne also worked in their favor as well.
Here's the other danger involved with I think with Muschamp. Muschamp has shown in his first 2 years, Phil, to get diamonds in the rough, and those guys have panned out. Some of them are actually starters.
Absolutely.
Now other coaches will say, I wasn't even looking at that kid, but since Muschamp, and then they'll start taking your list and start working from it.
One more thought on Clemson recruiting, too, as we look ahead. What quarterback? They're looking for a quarterback in the 2019 class. They've apparently said Sam Howell as their guy out of Monroe, North Carolina. But what quarterback in his mind would go to Clemson in the 2019 class?
No one.
Seriously, because they are so married to Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it. Unless Trevor Lawrence slips and breaks his leg or something, with Kelly Bryant, back for another year, but the expectation is Trevor Lawrence is, I don't want to be unfair to Kelly Bryant because until proven otherwise, he's going to be the starter. Right. But you got Trevor Lawrence sitting there. I don't expect Hunter Johnson to be there much longer.
Well,
to be honest with you, I have nothing to base it on except for the fact that I don't think he's going to factor into the top two.
Only if Trevor Lawrence is Sampson. And whoever the quarterback's name is, Delilah, and they're holding a pair of scissors to cut his hair once they get it to camp.
Well, unless you just love the place so much.
That's what you want.
Well, if you're, let's say you're Sam Howell, who's a very highly recruited player, got a lot of big-time offers, so you commit to Clemson for the 2019 class. Lawrence plays this year. You come in 2019 red shirt, and Lawrence plays 2020. Then he's got one more year of eligibility.
Dabo loves having options now.
Well, you got to have some depth at quarterback.
Dabo loves having his options now. He wants to see him play out. He wouldn't care if he got all four of them. Honestly.
Well, they had that. Look at the hey, you know what? We can't forget about Chase Bryce still being there as well. So
the forgotten man.
Absolutely, he's never talked about, but and probably will remain so with the other two guys there.
It's kind of easy to get lost in the shuffle there.
All right, got more recruiting coming up for you after the break.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Let me wrap up the recruiting report for tonight. Won't have as much commentary the rest of the way here. USC commitment defensive end Rodriguez Fitton of Atlanta picked up an offer today from Tennessee. Clemson makes the top 5 with offensive lineman Harry Miller of Beaufort, Georgia. The others, Ohio State, Stanford, Georgia, and Notre Dame. Defensive back Tyler Rudolph of St. Thomas More Academy in Connecticut, I think that's in Avon, was offered by Clemson. 2020 teammates, defensive lineman Jamil Burrows and Jordan Simmons of Powder Springs, Georgia, were to be at USC today. Defensive back Catrell Clark of Midlothian, Virginia, plans to visit USC and Clemson this coming weekend. Clemson also offered defensive back Kyle Hamilton of Atlanta. Wide receiver Jaleel Telemack of Stone Mountain, Georgia, was among the visitors at USC on Saturday. 2020 offensive lineman Seth McLaughlin of Beaufort, Georgia, was offered by USC, as was 2020 defensive end Desmond Evans of Sanford, North Carolina, and 2020 defensive back Jalen Huff of Beaufort, Georgia, all offered by USC. Defensive end Samuel Brooks of Miami announced Saturday he is down to USC and Miami with his decision. Receiver Deshaun Studemeyer of Stone Mountain, Georgia, was at USC Saturday. USC over the weekend offered quarterback Tayshawn Fomachina, 6'4", 186, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Good luck with this name. P-H-O-M-M-A-C-H-A-N-A-H. Fomachina. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, dual threat quarterback. Got a lot of big-time offers. Florida State, Indiana, Iowa, Purdue, Penn State, Maryland, Michigan, TCU, Boston College, and others. 2020 offensive lineman John Williamson of Canton, Georgia, was at USC Saturday. I am not mentioning some of the people who visited USC Saturday because we'd already talked about them last week, so not to rehash all that. Clemson had several basketball recruits in over the weekend for the Duke game, including 2020 small forward B.J. Boston of Norcross, Georgia. 6'7" Christian Brown of Lower Richland was in for the Clemson game on Sunday. He was at Georgia Tech on Saturday. Jawan Gray, the 2019 prospect from it's Jawan Gary. Jawan Gary or Jawan Gray? Help me out.
You're asking the
Help me out.
Dude.
From Gray Collegiate.
Wrong dude.
In Columbia. He was in at Clemson for the game. Jawan Gary,
yeah.
6'6" from Gray Collegiate. He was in at Clemson. I haven't really tuned in to all the 2019 kids yet. Anyway, he was at Clemson.
You're not there
on
yet.
Sunday. Well, I try to get through one class before I really dive into another. 2020 offensive lineman Mitchell Mays of Raleigh was scheduled to be at USC on Saturday as well. So there you go with recruiting from over the weekend. Check it out regularly on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag #STRecruiting. To Glenn in North Charleston, we travel next here on Sports Talk. Hello, Glenn. How are you?
How you doing, Mr. Corn and Company?
Good. Doing fine.
Hope you all having a blessed evening and getting everything rolling here.
Yes, sir.
I was curious, how do you make the national anthem sexy?
Don't do what Fergie did.
What'd she do?
I know.
You've not seen this all day?
She just botched it.
She botched it. Just like every
Where was
show
she singing it?
The NBA All-Star game.
See, I don't watch that.
It's been a major topic all day.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I know if it's not sports, I don't care. And the national anthem and who botches it to me is not sports, so I don't care.
Some are calling it the worst anthem
what'd she do?
by
I mean,
a singer.
how'd she mess with? She's a great singer, is she not?
She is, but she took some
Wasn't
liberties.
she with the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
No, Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, Black Eyed Peas. I knew it was some vegetable.
She took some liberties, and also I think she
can we get that?
Gave Prue of the Night, Prue of the Night.
She just
proof, yeah.
She just. I mean, did she just mispronounce some things, or was she off key? Right?
She's off.
She was all over the place.
Yeah,
If you want to hear the national anthem, and this is according to women now, you got to go back to when Marvin Gaye sung the national anthem in Los Angeles.
Whitney Houston,
Oh, yeah.
Desert Storm. Is
But
But
the
I'm
best-
saying I've never heard women swooning.
The
when
best,
the national
without
anthem
question,
being sung.
the best, in my humble opinion, is the guy who sings prior to the Chicago Blackhawks game.
Jim Cornelison.
Oh, that
See,
guy.
So now the guy,
To me, he would be the
he's
guy
good.
who sings it before every big sporting event in the country.
Part of the deal with them is that you have the fans cheering behind him, which is pretty
nonstop.
cool.
But then he has the pointing to the flag when he gets to that point in the song.
And our flag was still there.
Oh, it's
See,
breathtaking.
now he post dates the guy that did it before him, Wayne Messmer, who basically was there when they started the whole cheering practice.
All right, so we've got Fergie. You want?
Can you see?
You're gonna play the whole.
Sounds good so far.
The latter half of it is when it gets better.
Yes. All right. Okay.
It's a little bit much.
We should be standing up.
I'm gonna take a knee, actually.
I probably should for this. Streaming or gleaming? Streaming. Okay. She's picking it up.
It gets. This is where.
This is where a lot of people get caught.
Yes.
Right in here.
See, you're laughing. You're laughing, aren't you?
Well, she was reaching for the words, wasn't she?
Yeah. Sounds like she's in pain. See, I told you you're laughing. Steph Curry was laughing too.
No, he wasn't.
He was. Here it is.
Prue?
Yeah. The fact that you haven't heard this before.
I haven't. I don't pay attention to this stuff. It's not bad.
No, that's bad. That's not good. Can't do that.
It's too slow. You can't sing the national anthem this slow.
Milked. Very milked.
What was that?
Oh, I told you she's all over the place.
They like it. They like it. Listen to them.
They're from LA. They're all stoned, man. Come on.
The brie? Like in cheese? Brie?
I wish I could have thought of this as a bit because this is actually almost awesome. If he hasn't heard this.
I can tell you exactly.
This is not a bit, folks. He has not heard this.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly who she's trying to imitate.
Well, hang on.
Bad.
She hit a lot of high notes there.
Yeah.
This doesn't matter.
It wasn't
as written.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but I know who she's trying to imitate. I could tell. And I'm
Aretha?
gonna age myself. No, Judy Garland. Exactly who she's trying to imitate.
It was a little bit much.
Well,
It wasn't Carl Lewis or Roseanne Babbitt. People are saying
No.
that it was the worst
Oh, but
that
I can't
an
brag
actual
that.
an actual singer did, which is again.
Yeah, she's trying to be Judy Garland. That's yeah.
Well,
Listen to those Judy Garland.
that's and she's getting hammered.
Very
Yeah.
hammered.
Yeah. Okay. How was the game? Came down to the last second?
It was different than the last couple because they added the charity aspect and the draft aspect in it. So I think there was a lot more concerted effort. It was
Plus
still
100,000 to the winning players, 100,000 per player.
Still a lack of defense at times, but the fact that the game ended on an actual defensive stop was it actual
They
encouragement.
actually kind of, I did see a couple of highlights. Looks like they picked up the defensive tempo in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the fourth quarter usually is when
The money quarter.
is the money quarter when
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. No, I did not watch it last night. I haven't watched the NBA All-Star game since they took it off Sunday afternoon and Brent Musburger was doing it. So it's been a long time.
That's a long time
Been
ago.
a long time. Maybe one day they'll get me back there when they start playing real basketball.
And they're saying
40
they're not going to
minutes.
do
They're
that.
not gonna do
because
that.
because they need highlights for their shoe companies.
I
Remember
guess.
back in the day, they didn't have the shoe
Whatever the
companies.
reason is, I'm not watching. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. The ACC game ongoing up at Notre Dame. Miami leading the Irish. 5 minutes to go in the half, 25-22. A couple of comments on our Twitter feed at SportsTalkSC. And Leon writes in about Casey Manning being selected to the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame. Says congrats to Judge Manning. Dylan excellence abounds. Well, I'm not so sure about the Dylan excellence part, but
that's
the hanging judge.
It's a shot.
Judge Casey Manning. I've known him forever. He is a great, great guy. And maybe this is an honor that has been is well overdue, considering the historical nature of his college basketball career, not to mention his dominant high school. I mean, when he was a junior, senior in high school in South Carolina, nobody could stop him.
Always asks your middle name whenever he addresses you first time.
He's a funny guy. He is a funny guy. Congratulations to him and to all of them. Let's see the tweet that you put out there about Andy Kennedy with Frank Martin talking about him. And Smokey writes in that he'd love to see him on Martin's staff.
Why?
I don't know. We tweeted out the overnight ratings for Daytona 500 from Austin Karp, who is with the Sports Business Daily. He said that Fox's 5.1 overnight would be a new low for the event. It was a crowded sports weekend, but it's down 22% from last year's race. Our good friend Cobb Oxford writes, NASCAR is dead. I hope that's not the case.
Kitch 3400 thinks the show has gone downhill since I've been here. He says that I constantly take the opposite position of you. That is not the case.
No, you got to listen all the time. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. Lawrence writes in that you coached Fergie on singing the national anthem.
That was also fake news.
The late Judy.
I mean, you probably would like to have had the opportunity to get together with Fergie and help her with singing, would you not? She's pretty hot, isn't she? Last time I checked, she was pretty hot. It's been a while.
I don't know if that's what I'd be doing if I was in the same room.
Is the Black Eyed Peas, is that still around as a band?
I defer to my
Brian. They're not. They gone away.
I defer to my other source here.
Okay, so Fergie's just doing a singles thing now. She's just doing her own thing, I guess.
She was with Slash for a while.
Oh, I missed that.
Well, see, that's why
it's very brief.
That's why I thought. That's why I thought Fleetwood Mac did the best thing, and that is they go off and do their own thing, and then they come back after they've had their experiences, and they may cut another album. May not do that anymore, but that's what they did for a lot of years, which kept them together.
They were on a hiatus between 07 to 09 and 12 to 15, but apparently they're off hiatus, according to that. Will I Am, big part of that. Fergie no longer part of the Black Eyed Peas.
You know who I would like to hear sing the national anthem at a Super Bowl or a big event like that is Jennifer Nettles. Huh?
It's a very odd.
No, it's not. She has got an absolutely gorgeous voice.
Who says you can't go home?
Gosh.
But you know, there are some people.
I mean, she has just got.
There are some people with beautiful voices
voice
that will not sing the national anthem because they think it is the toughest.
Yeah, I agree.
My sister hates it. She hates it.
Does she sing too, besides comedy, or is his singing part of her comedy?
She is a classically trained vocalist. Corn.
I thought she was a comedian.
She's both.
That's what I'm saying.
I
mean, does her singing make her funny, or singing?
She's the talented one of the group.
Of the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen, I've only seen, two parts of the family or one part of the family.
Yeah. She's the talented one.
You watch a singer's
face. I can't set them all up for you, man. Come on, dude.
Now watch a singer's face if they're playing a Canadian team and how much the singer seems to enjoy the Canadian national anthem.
Yeah.
More than the.
I'll tell you what, there was a young lady who sang the national anthem at USC on a Saturday. I guess it might have been the Texas Tech game, and she was fantastic. I don't know her name. She sang it a cappella, right?
A cappella.
No, a cappella.
Stupid. You're so stupid.
I don't know singing.
A cappella.
Yeah.
It's Latin.
She sang it, however, and it was unbelievable. I'm serious. She was great. I don't know her name. She was wearing a red dress that really stood out, and just knocked it out of the park.
The a cappella group at Clemson, I believe it's called Tiger Roar, I think it's called. They did the anthem Sunday against Duke, and they were very good.
Mark Kingston is singing a happy tune today after losing on Friday, and everybody's saying, here we go, can't beat anybody. Can't win a close game. Can't hit in the clutch. Oh, have I seen this before? Oh, my. It's going to be a long season. And then the Gamecocks come back and, of course, take care of business the next 2 days against VMI. Here's a little bit about what he had to say, overall view of getting the series victory and getting off to a 2-1 start.
That we gave them A+. 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 That we gave them A+.
All right.
Well, that was
not exactly what we were looking for there.
What?
stepped in one.
I think we have a computer hiccup there. As soon as Brian gets it working, take a hammer to it. 1 or 2 shots of the hammer usually fixes any computer that I've ever had a problem with.
I've been told that you restart it and it works apparently.
While you were starting that, did you get this note where Deuce Staley is interviewing for the
Saw that.
Eagles offensive coordinator position?
I would think you stand a good chance to get it if you want to stay in-house and build on a team that won a Super Bowl. All right, let's try it again. What did Mark Kingston think of the overall performance of his team from the weekend?
Well, I still think we need to work on everything, but I'll call it a good first weekend. I won't call it a great first weekend because we didn't sweep, which we're going to try to go into every weekend hoping that that's the goal. So I thought it was a good, solid week that we learned a lot about our team. I thought our pitching, for the most part, did really well. Adam hit a bump in the road on Friday, but everybody else that went in there pretty much did their job. And we all know Adam will be just fine. So I thought our pitching was pretty good. We had more walks and strikeouts again offensively today. So that's a major positive. And we hit for power too. So saw things that we want to see, and now we just need to continue to build on it.
Weekend.
Yeah, it's impossible to get everybody into a game opening weekend. There's still some pitchers that we want to get a look at. But getting Gage, TJ, and Hunter in the game today, and they all did exactly what we wanted them to do, was a good thing. I think all the position players, except for Bowers, saw some game action this weekend, which is a positive. So all in all, I mean, I think from getting guys in the game, we got most of the guys, but there's still some pitchers that we want to get a look at too.
A week or so ago, you sort of challenged your catchers to step up and be more consistent, and Chris had a big game today. Just how pleased are you with the way those 2 guys performed this weekend?
Very much so. We challenged both of them, and we didn't pull any punches that they needed to be better than what they were giving us. Hunter and Chris, we challenged both of them, and I thought they both answered the bell very well. And I told them that we need to be regarded as a team that has 2 elite catchers, and based on how they both played this weekend, I think you can do that. Now, the challenge is to do that more than one weekend. Let's do it every weekend. But based on them responding to the challenge that we gave them, A+.
All right, Mark Kingston, USC winning by scores of 7-2 and 9-0 after dropping that opener 7-6. Overall, though, the bullpen was outstanding, did not allow a run in over 12 innings of work in the 3 games. John Gilreath threw 4 innings of relief Friday. He will start the Gamecocks game tomorrow against, I think it's North Florida tomorrow.
North Florida tomorrow, and then they play on Wednesday against Winthrop.
Mm-hmm.
One casualty of the weekend, bad hammy for Madison Stokes. Unfortunate for that.
Yeah, they'll have to kind of nurse that along, and those hammies can be funny things. He did have a good weekend, though. Yes. 5 of 9, 3 doubles, couple of homers, and he gives you that senior leadership right in the middle of your infield, and some of the young guys got off to a good start. So you know what? It was a good start for the Gamecocks, and they play North Florida tomorrow and then Winthrop on Wednesday, then 3 this weekend against Charleston Southern. I saw where Ray Tanner had to go to Twitter to explain to people why a couple of these baseball games aren't available on SEC Network Plus.
I have some insight on that as well.
All right, you can share it after the break if you want to.
I'm just saying, I talked to some people at USC who gave some insight as to why that is.
Well, you can share that after the break if you want to.
May I?
You can share it after the break.
Mother, may I?
Since we're into repeat status here on Sports Talk. Yeah, we'll do that after the break. 800-95. And we'll hear from Monty Lee coming up as well. Be right back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Another big game coming up tonight in college basketball. Oklahoma, which all of a sudden has hit the skids, playing Kansas. Kansas got a big win on Saturday, trying to right the ship there. That'll be another game coming up later on tonight. Miami and Notre Dame have gone to halftime. I didn't catch the score. I think Miami's on top, Pro.
Yes, they are.
Am I right about that?
About 7.
Yeah.
They're up on by 7. Okay. So from a Clemson standpoint, the Tigers at 9-5. If Miami goes on to win, they'll be 8-7. So they'll be creeping on up. Notre Dame will drop to 6-9. So right now, your bottom 4, if that holds up, your bottom 4 in the ACC: Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Pittsburgh. I guess they'll play the first day up in Brooklyn.
York.
Good luck drawing flies for those. Well, Notre Dame will have some people there
I won't,
if they're in the 4.
I won't be there.
You're not going to the first 4?
Hell no.
Oh.
Hell no.
Okay.
You don't pay me to do that.
Pay you to cover the.
Yeah, I'm not the first 4.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if they started with a bunch of janitors playing in the opening game, I'd expect you to be there to cover it.
I'll be knee deep into a cannoli.
I bet you will be.
Will you? Oh, Pittsburgh
And also a pastry.
Pittsburgh almost ambushed.
Looking at the
Florida
size of
State
your
last
stomach,
night.
I think you already have been.
Oh no!
I went to the gym today, man. To lay off.
All right, Clemson baseball. The Tigers open up 3-0. Tough games, though, across the board against William and Mary. Nothing easy for the Tigers this weekend. Great pitching yesterday by Higginbotham. That's got to make him feel good because it was his first outing since 2016 after missing all of last season. He pitched very well in a 2-1 victory. Most perplexing to Monty Lee, though, coming out of the weekend, the offense or lack thereof, as he saw his team kind of struggle at the plate.
A little frustrated just because of our expectations on offense. But, part of the blame is me. I'm maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on them, talking about it too much. But we just got to free it up and swing it a little bit more. But overall, anytime you can get a sweep opening weekend and pitch and defend the way we did this weekend, you got to feel pretty good about it. So overall, good job by our guys, and hopefully we can carry some momentum into our first midweek game. And it's been interesting just on my end because we hit so well in the fall, but it's been kind of a 180. Since we come back in the spring, our pitching staff keeps getting better and better. And I told you guys going into the spring, into the season, if we keep throwing the ball the way we're throwing it, I feel pretty good about where we're at. And I think William & Mary's a pretty good offensive ball club, and we pitched pretty well against them this weekend. So, we just got to keep building on what we're doing pitching-wise. I feel really good. And we got some good hitters. We just got to start hitting a little bit, and we got to find that right combination. We've tried a few different guys, a couple different options, and we'll keep running guys out there until we find what we feel like is the right mix, outside of the big 3. But there were some highlights this weekend. I thought Robert Jolly put together really good at bats. Wharton did some good things, even though he didn't get any hits. He drove in some runs, did a nice job. So just overall, hopefully we can get a game when we get 2 or 3 hits in a row and kind of take some of that pressure off of us and start swinging the bat a little more free and easy.
All right, Monty Lee and the Tigers have Furman tomorrow at home, and Furman coming off an undefeated start to its season, 3-game sweep. And
over Marist.
Yeah, and so we'll see. Somebody's going to lose tomorrow. Talk about the Clemson numbers from over the weekend. And, again, they played good defense. They got good pitching for the most part after the I guess really all 3 of their games were pretty decent pitching-wise.
First one left a little to be decided.
5-4, 7-6, they gave up. Yeah. They gave up some runs there. Defense was pretty solid all the way around. And the hitting is something that, as you heard him say, they got to pick up a little bit. The starting pitching wasn't that bad. Spencer Strider on Saturday gave up 4 earned runs in relief, but behind him, Matt Clark and Carson Spires shut down William and Mary.
The thing that, despite the fact that they came back and won the bookend games, the fact of the matter is they got their runs, I don't want to say handed to them, but largely due to William and Mary's undoing. I think they scored 3 with 2 out in the 9th on Friday, and I think a couple of them were on wild pitches. And Also, the situation that happened on Sunday, both of their runs scored by a bases loaded hit by pitches. So they had some erratic bullpen action, did the tribe of William and Mary. So unfortunately for them, that ended up going that way. So Clemson, while aesthetically pleasing, those scores looked good. The fact that they got 3 wins, a lot of that was handed to them.
Well, Clemson reminds me a lot of those old Dodger teams where they don't get dialed in to the last few innings. They'll let you lead the entire game. Then 7th, 8th, and 9th is winning time.
I think a lot of that also is the product of, again, the early part of the season. Right. You're playing a team that you're supposed to cream, and probably don't have your best focus in your underneath you.
They did that last year. As I said, we said watch them with an inferior team fall behind 9-0 and come back and win the ball game.
Story coming out this afternoon related to the Panthers. Ray Caruth on the verge of being released from prison. You know his story. His scheduled release date, October 22nd. And he wants custody of his son. According to this story, he penned a 15-page letter to the son's grandmother saying that her claims against him are untrue. He made the letter public with a forward saying he was releasing the letter wasn't to win the public over, but to make people question the woman's claims. And says here the letter is incredibly complex, according to this writer. So anyway, he's trying to get custody of the child, which is going to be quite interesting because I don't recall what led to the shooting.
Yeah, but the woman,
was it just a domestic dispute?
I don't know what it was, but the woman
was trying to. I think the woman was pregnant at the time.
Yeah, she was trying to kill him.
She was trying to kill the kid.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
And the gunshot wound apparently caused the kid to have CP, cerebral palsy. So
the question now is, if the kid is mentally capable, isn't he of age now where he can make his choice?
I don't know if that.
No, he's about 20 years old, isn't he? He's
still a lot. I mean, it's a lot to ask of a kid of that
This is going to be a very First of all, I don't understand. How do you get parole? How does a murderer get parole after 20 years?
Well, I think he wasn't a first degree.
No, it was.
It wasn't a first degree. It was a second degree, I think.
Well, or I don't know details, but I mean, he shoots the poor woman in cold blood, right? Now, there was no mystery, and there was no doubt as to who committed the crime. Anyway, he's getting out apparently in August.
Craig Kuligowski, according to Bruce Feldman.
Who?
Craig Kuligowski, the old Miami defensive line coach, could be the new defensive line coach at Alabama, one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. A lot of NFL pedigree behind that guy.
So, I mean, Lance Thompson's name's still being kicked around out there by, I think, Coaching Search or whatever. One of those websites keeps throwing his name out there, too.
Feldman's pretty good, though.
Yeah. He's got his finger on the pulse.
That would be a big, big signing for them for a defensive line that doesn't quite need any help, if you know what I mean.
All right, tomorrow we've got baseball going on, of course, around the state here in Columbia. USC will be taking on North Florida. That'll be a 4:00 start over at Founders Park. Furman at Clemson at 4. Winthrop plays at Upstate tomorrow at 4:00. Charleston Southern plays at Savannah State. So we'll be keeping our eyes on those games. Also, Presbyterian plays at Vanderbilt tomorrow. We'll have Brad Brownell tomorrow as well. He'll be meeting with the media to preview the game against Virginia Tech. Kerry Tharp will be here to recap his weekend at Daytona. I'm sure he'll have a lot of things to say about the sport, about the event, about the win by the number 3 and the second place finish by the 43. That looks, in NASCAR circles, that looks pretty exciting to me to see those two cars running up front.
NASCAR royalty.
We want to tell the folks we're efforting the head coach of USC possibly for tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I hate to say that something's going to happen when it doesn't.
We're efforting.
Who knows? Frank Martin might show up. He might not.
He asked if you would puke in a trash can, he would come on.
We've all been there, he said, right?
I haven't really done that in a long time. Okay, that'll do it. Thank you, Brian. Great job as always. Thank you, Pro. And Will, have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.